folks, welcome. We're excited to have you, and I know it's a little bit warm today, but trust me, it's great compared to where we've been the last couple of weeks. And I've visited with a few of you just for a minute. Some have had some extra rain, and those of you that have been gracious enough to send some our way, and certainly welcome. We're not going to keep you long, and not all of the families here, but I'm going to do this, and you'll get to see them throughout the night. But obviously, my wife Paula, she does everything here. I just kind of like this. I show up, and I told Monica, so I think we got a new PA system, and I'm really not sure how to use it. So she got that going for us. Our two sons, Blake and Logan. Blake, he just got married last summer. His wife is a veterinarian, and she won't be here tonight because she's on call, but we're excited for them. Blake went up on the state, always had a desire to come back here, and he's part of the operation. Same as Logan. Tyler Case can tell you, the kid loves the show. He loves Facebook. He's pretty good at that other stuff. What do you call that? Snapchat. I'm excluded from Snapchat, but I have others that get that when it becomes an issue, I get referred, whatever that might have been. So they're opposites, just like DNA and cattle. They're full-blood brothers that are completely different. And I know many of you have got kids too that I see a Schumann too, and I know their family. And DNA, I'm thinking of DNA. We can talk about DNA all night. But my sister Suzanne's here. My mother Martha will be here in a minute, or was here earlier. Andrew Nathini, Taylor Bell. My niece works at the American Hereford Association. Her brother Austin will be here later. He got married last summer to Riley Barber. So we're pretty much a cattle family. And this is what we do for a living. We're going to do a picture demonstration for you here in a minute, and we really believe in good pictures. We have, last Monday when it was 95 degrees and 105 heat index, we did 38 pictures that day, and they're really good pictures. And it's kind of like a factory here. First, it starts with a really good crew. We didn't have that many people. We had 2 at the chute and 3 in the picture ring. And what we do is we run everything through a chute and wash them. Then fly spray. If they're the Angus, if they got brown, we might put a little dye on them. But they're natural. I mean, we use white as the fly spray. So once they go out of the chute, they've got a shaded area that they hang out in. So we try to get 6 to 7 head ahead of where they go into the picture ring. We don't want to run a wet one in the picture ring. On the Herefords, we wash the white. We use the white or the fly spray on the red. The one thing we've learned, and back in one of our picture sessions in May, we were doing some donors, both Angus and Herefords, and I noticed that the Herefords, even though they washed them, their faces, the white looked a little brownish, they weren't a bright white. Come to find out, guys at the chute were spraying them down with what we call that white horse fly spray, and that does not work on the white color. So this last picture session, when we did our Herefords, we sprayed that white on the red and just an aerosol barn spray on the white. They were awesome. So if you as Shorthorn or Shorthorn Plus breeders, you're going to be taking pictures of red ones and black ones. So we're going to do that today. We got an Angus bred heifer and a Hereford bred heifer. So I would say that for as important as pictures are, videos are more so. And the reason for a good picture is to drive you to the video. And once you're driven to the video, obviously the video needs to be as good or better than the picture. And they need to match. And that's where photoshopping, that's where you see the differences. When I mean by that, and I see some of you nodding your head, you can take an average one and create a really good picture on a computer. And if you don't see the video of that one, you better run like a scared rabbit. And I mean that. But when the video matches the picture, you're good to go. This fall, with this event, we have a Hereford sale Labor Day weekend. Our Angus sale is the end of September. And I'll back up a little bit about the sale facility. When we first built it, we were running close to our first Hereford sale would be in this building. So we didn't get it concreted. And so that's going to change this fall. Some of these, a couple of sets of these bleachers are coming out. We're going to use more tables. For the last 2 years, folks, and I was one who would fight this. I said I'd never do a sale on video on. Guess what? It works. Sale ring's coming out. There's no reason to run through it. When we sell bulls, when you mix bulls back up after the sale, you're going to have injury. We didn't have that. They're all pinned out here. Even we didn't have the first commercial guy. I knew we would have some of our older commercial guys that first year say, I don't like this. Not the first year. So it's all changed, and I didn't get to see your program this morning, but I know Eric Grant was part of it, and I was served on the Angus board when Eric was there. And Eric told us things that when I was there that I never thought would come true, or I didn't see those things coming, and they did. So whatever he told you today, I hope you were listening, because he knows, this guy knows. And so what he says, that something way out there is coming, it's coming. And it'll probably be here sooner than even Eric thinks so. So I'm glad he was on your program, because marketing is a big part of everything we do. I won't keep you. We can exit out of this door. You can go around the front. The picture pins to our left. Wes Chisholm is going to do that. And I think, obviously, you can ask him any questions you want. One thing we do when we take pictures, we never run one in the picture pin by themselves. They can be as gentle, most docile individual you got, but you take them into a different area that they're not accustomed to. Sometimes it doesn't work out. And on the flip side of that, sometimes you can take a crazy one in there and you think you'll never get the picture, and the first thing they do is stop. Deer in the headlight, heads up, perfect stance, click, they're gone. But it's always nice to have someone in there with the individual you're taking a picture of. So we have a halter, we always have a halter female or something in the picture pin to keep everybody covered. So we have an in gate and an out gate, so the system. There's also a water in that picture pin. And that Monday, when it was 105 degrees, you know what? They go over there and they get a little drink out of that water. It makes life easier there too. So, any questions you might have throughout the evening, just check with us. Again, we're glad to have you. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
I'd like to thank the Shorthorn Association for letting me have an excuse to come home and see my folks for a couple of days. I don't get to do that near as much as I would like to. What he failed to mention is the actual boss is still at home. Somebody's got to run the business while I'm away playing. So she would like to have been here just to have kept me honest. But we'll rely on Matt and Eric and my father to do that, I guess. So a little bit about my background. Like Matt said, I'm originally from Kentucky. I actually left in 2010 and went to work for the American International Charolais Association. I was a fieldman for the Southwest. I covered Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, and Arizona. Some of the biggest wholesale states for the breed. I had the pleasure and the opportunity then to work with some of the very best ring staff, auctioneers, ranch managers, and photographers. Those guys have all been a great influence on my life. As I look back from when I started to where we're at today, you kind of like to delete some of that stuff you started with. And that's one of the beautiful things about technology now versus when we began. It's a lot easier to delete some of that stuff. I see a couple older people shaking their head. I bet they know what film still looks like. One of those deals, you take a picture, you run, you go get it developed, and you blew the picture, you weren't in focus or something, you're like, oh, that was an expensive day for nothing. So with that in mind, we'll start at the beginning and do the whole ground up, butt forward kind of approach today. And I don't like preaching, and I don't like just talking at you. So if you guys have questions, feel free to holler them out. I'll give you the mic. Give me a chance to catch my breath. I don't like to hear myself talk this long, and you won't either. I guarantee it. So whenever we go to a place or go somewhere, and especially if it's an opportunity for an operation that's just starting out, or they're wanting to revitalize what they're doing, change things up, you know, the pictures that they want to take seems to be right at the top of the list. You know, we haven't been getting good pictures. We think it's affecting our sales, our marketing. What can we do to make it better? And generally, it's just a few small fixes to get to where they would like to be. The easiest one to start at is actually the picture pin. And I'm kind of glad Charlie's got it set up here so I don't have to like make fun or do anything silly, because it's about how I would do it. You know, in today's world, you know, always in the past we talked, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, in today's world, a video is worth just as much, if not more. Some of the operations we work with, they just as soon not have as many photos in a catalog because it costs a lot to print catalogs nowadays. So videos become just as important. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the video side too. I won't get too far in the weeds, but there's some synergies there we can discuss. The first thing is, you know, with the video in mind, as well as the still photography, is the layout of your picture pin. You know, I really prefer about 100 by 100 square. 100 foot, I can get one pass down with a video, one pass back, we're done, kick them out, charge on to the next one. Within that 100 foot, I can also get opportunities if we're trying to do both at the same time, which does happen. I have opportunity for them to stop, get a still photo, and get them to walk out of that, makes that money shot for the video as well. And the other piece to think about when you're laying it out, and it's silly stuff like corners. Like Charlie's got a gate down here kind of blocking off a corner. You know, there's nothing worse than have one walking, things are going good, they get their head in the corner, and that's where they decide to stop and stand. And then you got to try to get them out, and it almost is like a restart of the whole process. So anytime that you can alleviate those corners, 100 foot by 100 foot, and then start thinking about your positioning. And I know, depending on where you're at in the country, what time of year you're trying to take photos, the sunlight is a major factor. So traditionally, we always think the sun comes up in the east, sets in the west. And right now, this time of year, that is right. I got my handy dandy compass on my phone out, and that way right there is dead east. And the sun is right behind me, and it's perfect. You couldn't ask for any better example of east to west. But as you get later into the year, that sun tends to drift a little bit. And you're going to get the sun coming a little more out of the south. You're going to have a change in your picture pin. So depending on what is best for your operation is kind of how the orientation of that needs to be. Whether you want to shoot in the morning with the sun coming up, you're going to be facing towards the west, or in the afternoon, sun's going the other way, you're shooting back towards the east. Just little things like that. The nice thing about Charlie's setup here, they have the opportunity to pretty much work the entire day, and they don't have to worry about too much. So then you move on to the next piece, what's behind them. I spend a lot of time fixing photos. I still fix a few photos for some close friends of mine who, as that business has evolved over the years, they think you're a miracle worker. And it's like, you know, I'd still appreciate you moving the tractor out of the background. I'll tell this quick story because they're not here and it's really pretty entertaining. I have a good friend and good customer in North Arkansas, and his picture pin lays right off of kind of the main drive to the ranch. And his dad has little to nothing to do with the purebred side of their operation. And he's all in on the farming side. And they were in the middle of hay season. And he come whooping in, and we are taking pictures for their sale. I mean, I got 5 guys. We got them lined up. We're rocking and rolling. And he pulls right up and parks right next to the picture pin with a 28-foot trailer loaded down with hay. gets out, hops out, locks the door, and walks to the house. And I said, what are we doing? And he goes, well, I'm done for the day. We're not. Can you move? And it just never dawned on him that that's right in the background and, you know, wasn't what he was even thinking about. And that's one of the, you know, it's not a pet peeve, but it's something I see, you know, anytime you can alleviate those distractions in the background of the photo, it makes that animal really pop. It makes them the center of the focus for that picture, for that video. If they're, and I know I've got a bad case ADHD, so I mean, I'll get plumb sideways watching what's going on in the background. But if you can alleviate some of those distractions, it really does make that animal come to the forefront. So the other piece, and if you guys want to ask questions, please do, because I'm getting tired of hearing myself talk. But the next thing I always try to think about is what the fence line is. And I know everybody's got different operation, different, you know, what they need in their day-to-day. And not everybody's in Kentucky where a 4-board black fence is pretty common. It makes a great backdrop for a picture, but it's not always feasible with your operation. I would tell you if you've got red animals, I would tend to stay away from red gates, red panels, or rust-colored, you know, freestanding panels. They tend to blend in. You can mess a top up in an animal really fast with nothing but the panel behind them. And it's something not a lot of people think about. There's worlds of those freestanding panels get turned into picture pins every year now. And that is something I actually just fought the other day with some red Angus cattle. They blended in perfectly, and we had to back up and punt. I do like an offset wire, if I can get it. So on the backside, you guys can't see it. Charlie does have 2-strand hot wire on the backside of this fence. It's great to keep those calves from wanting to be on top of that fence. That has to do a lot with the focus of the picture. It goes back to making that animal pop off of that background and really give you that three-dimensional bouquet, as they call it, of that, you know, the animal's in focus and the background's blurred out. From a picture standpoint or picture pin standpoint, the last piece is probably the grade of that picture pin. Now, I will pick on Charlie's guys a little bit here, but it's got a little more slope down the hill than I'd personally prefer. This time of day would be great because we're going to be coming up that hill just a little bit. And from a picture standpoint, I do like a little bit of grade coming uphill. Everybody knows. You get them on a little bit of a slope, man, they look awesome. From a video standpoint, when they turn and go down the hill, they don't look so awesome. So just have that in mind as well. Anybody got any questions on layout of the picture pin before I move on to something else? Okay. In gate and out gate. So I personally prefer to run 2 different gates, mainly because I don't want them to know that they can go out the same gate they came in. I'd like, in a perfect world, especially for shooting video, I want them to know the out gate is over there, and the in gate's over here. They want to walk that way. We turn them around, they go, well, maybe I can get back out this way, and then go back that way. It's cheap, Matt. What you got?
First time I've used it.
What'd you do? Buy it at Harbor Freight? It's getting worse. Ooh. There aren't any Aggies in here like A&M fans, grads, are there?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody gets to stick up for him. We might be good for a minute. Nope.
You just stand still too.
I guess so. It's a little hot. The sun's right there. So on the gates, closer. Oh, if you're offering, I'll take one. Thank you, Jake. But that's what I like on the gates. The biggest problem I've had 2 or 3 different places is they only have 1 gate and 1 gate out, or in and out, and it always seems like we're trying to fight to get back to that same spot. And it's really frustrating when you get one starting to make that walk for that video, or they're starting to, you know, slow down, calm down for that photo, and they take off to the gate. And I think if you can kind of, in their mind, keep them thinking there's more than one way, you can kind of drive them around and get them to work with you. Any more questions? That was really good. That's in my cheat sheet notes, and I forgot that one. Okay. So the next piece, I guess we'll talk about, is the one that, I guess, always has the most controversy around it, and that's equipment that you shoot. What it takes to get that good photo from an equipment standpoint. I will tell you from the very first DSLR digital camera that I picked up, probably 2008, my telephone, and not even the new one, the old phone, has a higher pixel count than it did. And that camera costs like $4 grand, and I mean, an iPhone's $1,000. That technology has exploded. You can't even compare the digital cameras now. So when I first started, they were still mirrored cameras, so just one step past the old film camera. Now they're mirrorless. I shoot a Nikon. Nikon versus Canon, we were talking about that earlier even. That's just a common question to ask, what do you pick up? Because those are the two most popular out there. I kind of liken it to iPhone versus Android. It's what you get comfortable with, what feels good when you pick it up. And, you know, for my sake, when I first picked it up, everybody that I was working with at the time shot a Nikon. So I had the opportunity to call somebody and say, hey, I got a problem, I got a question. And to me, personally, and it is all personal opinion there, a Nikon feels more comfortable. The nice thing about a pen this big, I shoot a 70 to 200 lens. I've been in enough bullpens and I've had enough lenses wrecked over the years that I tend not to buy the Nikon. I really do like my Tamron lens, so it's a step under. They make lenses for different brands. I like it because I can save a little money. I think it takes as good a photo. It's just as rugged. And I don't have to worry as bad if I get steamrolled like I did last fall that it gets broke. So that's a personal opinion, but I like that size lens because it creates that great fade to the background and that animal really pops on the front side. And that with that zoom lens like that, I can achieve that. And in a big pen like this, you don't have to be so close. You don't have to be in their flight zone to capture that image. You can be away, you can be back. They can be more comfortable, and you can get that picture without stressing them out as well. From a video standpoint, the most important piece of that equation for shooting good video is going to be the tripod. And I know that sounds really silly, but a high quality video head, fluid head tripod. I didn't move this time. How about we try this? And if you can't hear me, I'll go back to the squeak box. But from a video standpoint, thank you, sir. From the video standpoint, that high quality tripod, it's going to have a little extra weight, a little extra heft. It's not going to move. It's going to be very stable. And that fluid head is going to be very smooth. There is nothing that drives me more crazy than to watch videos where they just shake as they go across, or they jerk like that. They've got that head tightened down, or they don't have the right kind of head on that camera. You can Google, look it up. I've got 4 or 5 different brands, and I won't even tell you what they all are, but a heavy, fluid video head on a tripod is what you need. And it does a great job. If you can pick it up with just little to no pressure, ain't big enough, ain't heavy enough. You need to get a real stable, heavy one. There's a lot of options for video cameras. I do shoot a Canon on my video rig. It's an XA70. It's their prosumer. It sits in the middle. It's not a big camera like you're going to see at the local news, but it's not a little one you're going to see at the local soccer game either. Well, you might. People are crazy these days. So they might be, filming little Johnny kicking a soccer ball with one, but probably not. Now, a question I do get asked a lot is about drones. And I do own a drone. I do like playing with it. I do like shooting video and taking picture with it. I have not been able to use it successfully in a video pen. The one time we tried, my drone has a cool feature. I can lock onto an animal. It was probably designed to lock onto little Johnny on the soccer field. and it will pursue little Johnny on the soccer field. I did lock on to that heifer. I thought that was a good move. I'm just gonna follow her down the pen. It's got a good even pan. She didn't like it. It was a great big bumblebee to her, and she took off, and it took off with her. And mine has about a quarter-mile run, and it ran her a quarter-mile down the field. We did not get her video that day, so we come back and do that one again. That was the last time I actively tried a drone in the video pen. You guys can't believe how funny it was the next day. But at the time, it was not. But it was entertaining. The other piece for the picture pen is your help. Having quality help on picture day means everything. And I'm not picking on folks, but some guys get on their telephone, they get on Facebook, get on Snapchat, they stop paying attention, and you're liable to not be paying attention when the calf needs to be getting its ears up. And there is nothing more frustrating, and I bet everybody here has seen it, experienced it, than the calf is stopped right, everything's perfect, but you didn't get the ears forward. And that is so frustrating, and it's such a letdown when everything else is perfect and that little piece of the puzzle didn't come together. That's why having that quality help really means a lot. Guys that are attentive, ladies that are attentive. Little girls make great noises. One of my good friends his daughter's now 23 and a lawyer, but when she was little, she was great picture pen help because we'd hide her in a corner and she'd pop up and make a little noise. And I don't care what it was, whether it was a 4-year-old herd sire or a weaned heifer calf for show heifer sales, they would pop and they would look because they had never seen nothing make a noise like that. There is some negatives to that too. I tell everybody, you will never see an animal at their worst behavior than the day they're in the picture pen. Does not matter. If this is their worst day, you have frustrated them, you have taken them out of their element, you have taken them off of their herd. They are totally isolated, and they're on an island out here with a bunch of guys making funny noises at them and a guy holding something looks like a gun. And that is their worst day. People that invite customers out to look at calves when they're on picture day are crazy, because it never ends well. That's just my opinion. Everything today is my opinion too, so feel free to argue with me later. But that would be some things I would tell you on equipment wise. I know Blake brought some flags out and some sticks out. I've seen everything from flags. I actually have a pom-pom on a 9-iron that was broke. It has a really good dual purpose being on a 9-iron. I've seen guys with umbrellas. I've seen noisemakers. I've seen predator calls. It all has to do a lot with your personal animals, what they're used to. If you've got cattle that are used to a lot of noise and a lot of differences and a lot of stress in their life, you're probably going to have to step outside of the box a little bit to get that perfect shot, to get that head up, that cobra crank, and those ears forward. If you got cattle that are not used to a lot of outside stimuli, it might not take a lot, and a little bit might go a long way. Those are days where you're hoping you've got cowboys on a horse to come save the photographer. But that's kind of it on equipment. Anybody got any questions about that? Perfect. I'm either doing a really good job or not doing one at all. Trying to think of what's left on the cheat sheet, guys.
How tall do you want the grass to be?
That's a good question. And there's a lot of different, I'm going to talk, and my cheat sheet was next on what's in the pen. So depending on where you're at, I've shot on everything from bare dirt to grass to wheat stubble, corn stalks. I mean, I feel like you name it and I've done it. I do prefer to shoot on grass. It always makes a better picture. I don't want to see their feet. I'd like it to be completely covering their dew claws if possible. That's a personal preference. There's a lot of guys that aren't like that. I talk to bull customers every year that ask us why we bed the pins so deep in our corn stalks. Well, because it's corn stalks and it's hard to put a skiff out there. So, I mean, you kind of get what you get. A lot of guys, I mean, there's some guys in Canada right now that I've dealt with that they're trying to take pictures of their feet individually on everything that goes through the sale. That's a lot to me. I mean, you run 100 head through a sale and you want to picture every foot, it's a lot. But they do it. That's their decision. It's all available online on their website. But it's my preference. Corn stalks, man, I don't really want them to get to their knees. Sometimes they do. But wheat straw, if I have my options, I like to shoot on grass or wheat straw if I can. The biggest thing I would tell you whenever you do shoot on straw or corn stalks, if you are shooting an animal that's got some white on their belly, that tends to pop up, and so that white will look yellow in the pictures. I'm a Charolais guy, so that's something I fight quite a bit. If it's a real bright sunny day or we've got a day with some yellow in it, in that sun, like you will in the winter and the fall, shooting onto corn stalks or onto wheat straw, it'll pop and pull some of that color into their belly. And that's something you just got to be kind of cognizant of. And if it's a black one, a red one, it's not the end of the world, but anywhere there's a splash of white. Anything else? All good in the hood. Okay. You guys want to put one in here and see what we can do? So what we're going to do is a live demonstration. Feel free to make fun, poke holes, do whatever. I would not mind a few folks ease down there to make some noise and help us get an ear.
Do you want to top the fence? Do you need the fence line?
We're going to probably take them all the way down there and up to there. So position of that animal is what we're all about. Like, that's the important part of the whole equation. You can forget everything I've said so far as long as that calf's standing right. Like, that's what it's all about. And everybody's got a different opinion. But I would tell you, like in those situations, I try to get them to stop what's really natural for them. So if she was doing that, going that way in the sun, we'd be done. Like, go on to the next one. So there are some differences though when you start looking at it. It's just like clipping a calf out. You want to make them look their best. So if she's a little bouldered shouldered, I'm probably going to stay a little closer to her front end, a little more dead middle. If she needs a little more to that back, I'm going to try to emphasize that back quarter and just try to showcase them to the very best of my abilities. If she's a little shallow, I'm probably going to try to pop up a little bit, shoot down, make her look like she's got a little more depth of body. Shadows, darker animals, you're going to have problems with shadows. This time of day is really nice. The sun's working with us. Everything there is good. If you get towards the middle of your day, shadows become important because it'll start blending in. You're going to lose definition. Is that a flank? Is that a belly line? What is that? Is that the ground? They're not going to look their very best. I always like to shoot in the front third of the day and the back third of the day before we get into like that orange, nasty, what the people photographers call the golden hour. It don't work for livestock photos. It looks good on people, not on cows. Let's turn her right up to your brother. I mean, if she might tick into me just a little bit, it'd be all right. Hey, Logan, come to me just a little bit. Ears. Easy, sis. Go that way. Ooh. They might be too many of them up there. Yeah. But you guys all take like 3 steps backwards. Everybody's excited. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Logan. Yeah, we're pretty done. So if I wanted to pick my own photo apart, I would have liked her head turned back to me just a little bit. She's going to be a little shadowy on her front third. I'm going to be able to fix that in production when I'm done, when I'm back at the house. That angle she's at right there is probably about ideal. She's really good fronted. You guys saw she wanted to cobra that neck up and really crank it. Looked awesome. She's deep, got a good hip. When she stretches out, she looks really powerful on her back end. Got a lot of bone. It's a perfect picture. You couldn't ask for anything else out of a heifer. I get asked a lot of times about posing them backwards. Is that the end of the world? If you got a lot of photos in a catalog, probably not the end of the world. Kind of a little variety. Some operations I go to, if they've got a little white on their underline, it's not the end of the world because they don't want to show that. So we might do that backwards on occasion. Sometimes, if it's bull season, you're only going to get one chance. So you got to take and make the best of what you get. Anybody got any questions? I mean, everybody knows what that picture's supposed to look like. It's just a matter of having the patience. And I tell everybody, and my wife will agree 100%. If she was here, she'd tell on me. I have a lot more patience with cattle than I ever have with people. I have thrown people out of my picture pen. I try to do it as politely as possible, but it has happened. But with cattle, I can't tell them what I need them to do. So getting mad at that animal, frustrated, upset, doesn't do anything for the day except for make it longer. Any questions on that?
What about haltered for a halter broke animal versus loose?
So that goes back to like the Android versus Apple conversation. Yeah, so he was asking if you've got the opportunity to take a haltered animal's picture on the halter versus just doing it loose. And I said it's kind of like Apple versus Android again. Everybody's got a different opinion. In that situation, if they are halter broke, I will try to take one on the halter, but I make no bones about it, guys. I'd rather get them off of the halter. They always are going to be more relaxed. They're going to be just in their element, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be that first or second image after we took them off the halter. Not always, but most of the time. Anything else? Comments, complaints, concerns? Yes, sir.
So, back in the 80s,
Okay.
before you was around,
I'm older than I look now.
back
You
then
got to
we
see
were
the gray
always trying
hairs.
to make our cattle look as tall as we could, so we'd take all our pictures laying on the
Yep.
ground.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where should we be today?
So the question was, and it's funny you say that because as I gave that spiel earlier about my mentors, one of them was, his name's Irvin Kotz. Irvin's one of the very best field staff members I've ever worked with. And I would highly recommend you guys to follow his food blog because he's moved to Costa Rica now and retired. But he shot probably some of the most iconic Charolais bull photos from the 80s, and he shot them laying on his belly because we were trying to see how big we could make the orangutans look. Now, I don't, besides the couple times I get drafted to shoot the little furry steer calves that probably shouldn't be pictured yet, I don't ever get down, and I'm big enough, I don't have an easy time getting up, so I don't like to do that. I stand 6'1". Most of the photos I shoot, I'm either crouched down really low or I'm on a knee. And I feel like for me personally, that puts the point of view of the camera right about dead center of their rib line. And I want to put the focal point of that lens most of the time right on that sweet spot in that heart girth, right in the middle, right behind their shoulder in there. And like I said, with a little variation, you saw me move uphill just a little bit, try to get, you know, depending on the way the animal stands or her personal or his personal phenotype, that front end versus that rear end. But I like to stay about that camera level with that midline of that animal. But yeah, I've seen some great photos of Urban on his belly, like trying to get that shot. Yeah.
Will you comment, you guys, do you worry about your f-stop?
So you're gonna laugh. Everybody's different, and I hate to start complaining. I would tell you guys the lower the f-stop you can have, the better the image is gonna be. And a lot of that has to do with the quality of your lens. So most of like these 70-200s are like a 2.8. If you buy like a factory set from Nikon or Canon, you're gonna get like a 4 something, I think, is generally like what comes in the box. Depending on what you wanna do, properly getting like your lighting right, the shadows right, things like that might be more important than necessarily that f-stop. But I will tell you that I worry. Yes. Yep, I do. Like in the picture pin on a normal day, you know, the nice thing about these modern digital cameras, and especially like these mirrorless, are how fast they are. I'll check the image just as soon. I did it there twice, just as quick. I've got mine set up that when I take one, it immediately pops it up on my screen. I can zoom in. I usually zoom in to make sure their face, their nose, their eye, something up front, and then I'll check the rear, make sure like that tail head, those things are crisp. And the crazy thing on these cameras now versus before, I don't even know how many, this sounds bad, how many focal points this thing has for its autofocus. The autofocus on these new cameras have gotten insane. If you get online, there's 3 or 4 blogs. There's an outfit out of South Africa. Their business is wildlife. Their boat wildlife safaris, and it's to shoot birds. And listening to these guys set cameras up is insane because of everything they worry about, the pieces and parts, the real meticulous things. I would tell everybody that stuff's fun to read, but getting them posed right, getting the conditions right, that's a huge jump forward. And then you can start really worrying about the nickel and dime, like how in focus is her nose? Can I zoom in and count hairs on her muzzle kind of thing? But that is something I do keep in the back of my mind for sure.
So are you on autofocus or do you
Today I am, because I didn't change it when I pulled it out. The autofocus on these new ones too, especially the Nikons, they've got, what do they call it? I think they call it an animal focus. So the nice thing about it, even though I can bracket that entire animal in my viewfinder, it will pick up their eyes. And just immediately, that eye will be in focus and everything inside, and it draws it in. It works really well to the point I've kind of quit fighting it. This is the first one. So this is going to be a Nikon Z8. It's one of their mirrorless. It's the first one I've used in their mirrorless line that's done that. I wouldn't tell you guys to run out and buy this camera. They are a little expensive, but you can get into like the Z6 or Z6 II mirrorless. They're about half this cost. But that new focus feature that they've built in these Nikons, they're really taking the guesswork out to the point where I look at photos where I composed and did it the way I would have 5 years ago versus to just slip it on auto and fire away. And boy, I'm gonna tell you, there's not a lot of difference. Occasionally I'll catch myself, I'll be a little more in focus in a traditional shooting in a manual mode, but you know, when you're trying to do, I think Charlie said they shot 38 the other day in 95-degree weather. Sometimes you gotta let the guys that have designed them do their work and charge on. And I know that can be an unpopular opinion, but you know, if I'm taking ranch photos, if I'm taking, you know, stuff for ads, people photos, which I don't like taking people photos at all, those instances I'll shooting in a different mode. I've got one set up that I just flick over and shoot that way.
What were your settings today?
I was running on auto today. I just let it, and I do shoot on auto ISO almost 100% of the time. And that's just your light and dark. Mainly because the operations I work with, I'm never just shooting a red one. I'm never just shooting a black one. I'm never just shooting a white one. I'm getting a mix. And there's nothing worse than getting one, saying that was awesome, I know it felt good. And a lot of times you'll pull that trigger and you'll know it's good immediately. And then you look and you're like, oh man, the color on that one was way bad. The lighting was off. And so because of that, and like I said, with the advancements in technology, I've just went to shooting auto ISO all the time now. Like I said, that's my opinion. That's how I do it. That is probably an unpopular opinion sometimes too. But from what I do, that's what I need. And that's the big deal. And I hope I've impressed that a little bit. You know, it is my opinion, and it's what you guys find best for your operation and for what you're trying to accomplish. Shooting yearling bull photos is a lot different than shooting show heifer photos. I know some gals that are really, really good shooting them open show heifers, and I've invited them 3 or 4 times to get in a bullpen with me, and they just say no. And there's not like a hesitation, it's no, sorry. And I mean, I don't blame them. Matt's heard me tell it. You know, I've been very lucky throughout my career. I've only had a few instances where I thought the Grim Reaper was going to catch me. Once in Texas, me and a 4-year-old donor cow went around and around a stump about that tall until she got tired. And I'm really glad she got tired because I was done. Like, I didn't have another circle in me. And she gave up. I didn't get so lucky last fall. So the reason I have a Z8 and a new lens is I had a coming 3-year-old bred heifer smoke show me. I had a can of snuff in my pocket. I had shorts on. It was about 102, first week of August. I had a can of snuff in my pocket. I had a bruise and a circle on my leg for 4 weeks where she got me. The 2 guys that were in the pen with me, the videographer and one of my pen help guys, they were a little faster than I was. Everybody talks about that life flash before your eyes situation. I had about I don't know how old my daughter was then, 8 months, or yeah, she would have been 9, 10 months old. Boy, I saw her whole life. And that bred heifer, she didn't make the sale. And camera didn't make the next day either. So, any other questions?
You can't charge enough for that.
Huh?
You can't charge enough for that.
The cowboy, so we're talking about the size of the pen. That is the biggest picture pen that I've ever worked in. It would be every bit of this big without the cross gate. It's a lot of ground to cover. We don't stop. We shoot all day from daylight to dark. The nice thing is the guy that shoots video with me while we're picturing, he can do 1 pass and they're done. Generally, we let them take a pass down, and when they turn to make their comeback, that's when we generally try to stop them. We can maybe get like that money shot, the stop, and then the walk out for the video, and I can get my picture. That day didn't go really good. We generally have 3 guys on horseback with us. If you do like shooting photos and do like taking pictures of cows and you've never worked in a pen with a guy on a horseback, it is a great experience. I don't know what it is, but if the cattle are used to them, they are a joy to have in the pen. Like, it is a new experience. We always have a guy or 2 on foot, but that guy on that horse is the one that makes that picture and that video work. The bulls always are more relaxed. But that pen is significantly bigger than any place I'd like to be. And my step counter for like that 4-day picture shoot, that pretty well does me for the month. It's impressive, but this is a lot more manageable. This is more what I would recommend. Anything else? Awesome. I hope I've answered some questions. I've hoped I've reaffirmed some belief. I hope I haven't made too big of a, can't say it, I'm on mic. Hope I haven't made too big a fool of myself out here today. I appreciate you guys for being great listeners and for engaging in the conversation. Because like I said, I don't like to preach. I'd rather answer questions. And I thank the Shorthorn guys for letting me have the opportunity to come out and talk to you guys today.
We got a herper to do if you
Yeah, that'll be good. I forgot about the Smurf. Something else I thought about, and my brother makes fun of me for being bougie, which is fair on occasion, because I do have some of those tendencies. I'm one of those people that I find something I like, and I'll hang with it, and I don't mind paying a little extra if it makes my life easier. There's a reason I'm as big as I am. One of which is a good camera strap, and I just got hammered with some emails earlier. So the one I actually prefer is a company called Peak Design. They make a rapid release system. So as far as getting them on and off, it's really quick. They make a lot of cool stuff. My brother was laughing at me because I'd got an email earlier they were going to release a new one, and I was like, I need to buy that. Yeah, they're great. I mean, it's just one of those things, but some of the technology has changed so much, and just used to it as a string, you know. So with the black one versus a red one, especially a red and white one, we don't have to be as concerned about the shadows. Like, you still need to be cognizant of it and do everything you can to mitigate the situation, but it's not as dire a situation as it is with one that's solid black. Hey, Logan, never mind. So that's pretty easy too. So one thing there, I was trying to whistle to get her to pop her head to me one time, and that goes back to that personal opinion again, and everybody's different. My wife prefers their faces straight ahead. Like, if you give her druthers, that's it, dead forward. I don't. I want to be able to see the tip of that other ear. I want to be able to see the curve on that nose, that shape of that forehead. I don't know. I'm very much like that, especially with bull photos. I have a lot of customers that are very particular about head shape on their bulls, to the point where, I mean, it's the top of the criteria. And I think it's so funny, but everybody's got their thing, and that's their thing. And so with my bull photos, I definitely always watch that. With her, we didn't have to worry about her turning as much, and you guys could see it. I mean, you can see it walking there into the sun. You can see full definition of body. You don't have to chase and get away from those shadows as much with the ones that are red or white. Anything else? Charlie, I'll bill you. I did get a car though. That's another thing as far as in the background. And I'll never forget, I have a good friend just outside of Springfield, Missouri. I don't think the billboard is there anymore, but for my entire life, knowing Jason, he's had a "Come to Dollywood" billboard across the road from his house. And it is in the background of, 80% of his photos. And it is ridiculous, but it's on the interstate, and the billboard is comical because, I mean, it's Dolly. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen the old Dollywood billboards. Dolly was on display. The problem he's got is the interstate. You still see some now. He's planted trees over the years, and it's kind of blocked it out. But you'll have a semi blow through a video or blow through a picture. And it's a little frustrating. With still images, you can mitigate that. You can watch what you're doing, take an extra one. But with video, I mean, they'll just blow right through it, and you're like, well, come on. Or they'll honk a horn because they see you out there, and you're just like, what are we doing? Spook a heifer. Neighbors are a good time as well. You'll be like here. Charlie's got some trees, but I mean, neighbor drives by, slows down, honks the horn, waves, and you're like, thanks. Good deal. Not working here at all. And I mean, they're just being friendly, but it is one of those things that you're like, come on now. We're not out here for fun. Anything else, Matthew? Boss lady, anything else? Nailed it. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.